What's going on, guys, and welcome to another video. And in this video I'm going to be repairing this old white MacBook. This is a 2009 model Core 2 Duo. I think it has 2 gigs of RAM or something, or a gig of RAM. It's got some problems with it. I've got it as is, there's no charger, no battery. I had to go out and buy a new battery and new charger. I haven't got the new charger yet, but I do have the new battery, so I thought may as well start fixing it now. The battery's got some charge in it, so I can test it and stuff. Now, the problem with it, I did test it with the new battery and it's just booting up to nothing. I think that's because I removed the RAM, which I'll show you in a minute. But first up, let's take a look at the battery that was already in it. And it's just an aftermarket one. But as you can see, it's sort of puffed up. The cells are completely gone. They're all puffed up and stuff. If I remove it from its shell, I might actually keep this shell, might replace these cells or something with something bigger. Yeah, it's just a cheapie. I'll give you a better look here. The part number on the batteries, I haven't looked them up yet. If I can get this to focus. No, it's sideways. Yeah, the part number on the batteries, I haven't looked it up yet. I'm assuming that it's the capacity that's stated on here. The capacity that's stated on the battery pack is 5600 milliamp hours, which is, I don't know, I'll have to do the math on that, but each one of these cells is going to be 3.7 volts, as it's written on there. And it's just got, luckily it's got a, well, it's got a decent, or looks like a decent charge controller on there. So yeah, I don't know, we'll give it a go. This battery is completely trashed. I did buy a brand new one on eBay. Sadly, you can't get genuine ones like you can with iPhones and stuff. With the iPhone, you can pick up genuine batteries. Sorry, I'll just fix that exposure up. It's been a while since I used this camera. Alright, so yeah, here's the brand new battery and just some destructions. Don't need them. And pull that out of the thing. This one looks like it's a bit higher quality than the one I was looking at. I think I paid $28 shipped for this. And if I press the little button, it's got, I don't know, 3 out of 5 bars, whatever that means. So I did try this in the system already, tried to boot it up, but nothing happened. Oh, just hit the lens there. Oops, sorry. So I wasn't going to make a video on this originally because I thought, oh, it just needs a new battery and a charger, it should be fine. Until I checked the RAM, because I wanted to see how much RAM it had, if I needed to buy some more to sort of get it to run the latest version of OS X. And this is the problem I found with it. The RAM is all corroded, but it's not. It's hard to tell. I'll probably throw in a picture here I took the other day of it. But yeah, as I said, it's got 2 gigs of RAM. It's got 2 1 gig modules. DDR2 667 megahertz, I believe. I don't know. I'll have to double check that. But yeah, I've seen this happen before. I just Googled sort of corroded MacBook RAM, and there was a post I found on the interwebs of this exact same model with a blown battery, and the RAM was all corroded, but the board was completely clean. And that sort of suggests that these batteries here had vented. And basically what that means is when these cells sort of break down, either from over discharge, old age, just being shitty cells, you know, they fill up with this sort of gas. I don't know what the gas is it releases, but it smells really, really bad. But looking at these little dents here with me, I was just poking it with my finger like that. They're all still puffed up. If they had vented, they would be flat, but they're not. They're full of gas still, which is probably pretty toxic. But I don't know. If you've ever had a lithium battery sort of pop, you sort of know the smell I mean. So I'm going to be pulling this apart tonight. I've got the Pros Kit toolkit that I reviewed. If you're interested in this, I'll leave a link down in the description. And yeah, let's start pulling it apart. This RAM's probably still okay. It's a bit hard to sort of see on camera, but on closer inspection, sorry, I can't talk tonight, there's no real board damage on there. It's just like this weird I'll put up a picture, but it's sort of this weird white stuff. It's not, it probably sounds like it's something nasty, but I've seen this happen before on boards. It's like a surface corrosion or something. It's just some sort of contaminant. And as I said, apparently it's happened to a few people with this same model. So maybe these modules were just a, oh sorry for that. Maybe these modules are just like maybe it's like it got contaminated in the factory when they assembled the computer or something. Another cool surprise. Now this machine only came with a 120 gig hard drive, 5400 RPM, and I opened it up and there was this guy inside. It's 500 gig Western Digital Black, so this is 7200 RPM, which is actually faster than the hard drive in my desktop at the moment. So this is going to be staying in here, unless I can get a SSD or something for it, so that's going to stay in there. I'm assuming the drive is okay. Yeah, I don't know. The guy that gave me this computer said there's probably an OS 10 disk inside there. When I powered this on before, it sounded like there was a disk inside, so don't know. This is all blown out and stuff, but yeah, I've already pulled this system apart because when I saw the RAM, I thought, oh, I better just check just to make sure the liquid indicator on the main board is fine. There's no real corrosion. There's a little bit, but that's mainly just sort of from humidity or people's fingers, oil on their fingers and stuff. It's not real bad corrosion that you would see from a liquid damaged laptop. And the keyboard's clean and everything. The LCD looks okay. But yeah, so let's dive into it. I'm going to pull this apart. I'm going to pull the bottom off and sort of jump to that, save watching me pull it apart. And yeah, we'll go from there. Okay, so I've got the motherboard out now. And I'm pleased by the fact that there is no real corrosion on the board. It was just in those memory modules. Now this thermal paste here, it looks so bad because I already pulled this machine apart and sort of started cleaning that off, and that's when I decided just to make a video on it. So let me just turn the board the right way up. It's very small actually. So this board is the model with the NVIDIA graphics. So apparently that's a plus. This thing can run up to 4, sometimes even 8 gigs of RAM. That's been reported by some people. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around and clean the board. One thing I've noticed with this one, there's no PRAM battery on it. Doesn't have one, which is just odd. I don't know. Maybe it's just draws power for the PRAM off the normal battery, but that's kind of weird. I also like how everything on this board's labelled. So like you have Bluetooth, and like over here you have like motherboard temp, or actually motherboard temp's just there. So that's out of focus. And yeah, so I'm going to go through, clean this all up, get rid of all this sort of dust and crud off there, clean up these, clean up the heatsink. This thing has a tiny heatsink. And then go through and test all these little fuses. There's a bunch of poly fuses. I saw one ceramic fuse just there. I think that's about it. There's a couple on the bottom as well. Now all these connections on this thing are tiny as, so yes, hopefully none of them are broken. There's another poly fuse just there. Bunch of solid state capacitors. They should all be fine. There we go. Copyright Apple 2008, which is neat. I'm going to go through, wash these DIMM slots again, and that should be it. And hopefully this machine should boot once I don't know if I'm going to try and clean this RAM or just throw it in the bin. I've got some spare, like a spare 1 gig stick floating around, which is enough to get the system to turn on and do a few things. I can't really install anything today because I don't have the charger. Oh wait. There we go. There's the PRAM battery. It's a little coin cell that's been soldered on, which is a bit of annoying. I was hoping I could pull that, but I'll have to try and reset the PRAM using a keyboard combo or something. I don't know, or shorting it out or something. Just in case it's causing any issues here. I don't think it would be. I think it's just that RAM was the problem with this machine all along. So yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and clean this, and should see me again in a minute. Alright, so the board has been cleaned, and I've just quickly run through and checked all the fuses, and they're all fine, which is excellent. Nice and clean on the bottom. There was just a bit of dust here, I just brushed that all off. I did check this PRAM battery. It's reading at 3 volts. I believe this is a 3.3 volt cell. Oops, sorry, went all the way. I believe that's a 3.3 volt cell, so that's definitely dead. So the PRAM's reset. That should charge back up. I don't know. I believe they're rechargeable, aren't they? I don't know. So yeah, that should be okay. It's reading 3 volts, so it's going to have... It probably shouldn't need replacing either way. It should charge back up, hold the date and time at least, and whatever else the PRAM holds. I believe it just works the same as a BIOS CMOS battery actually. Probably it's just a CMOS battery. Yeah, all these fuses are fine. This big ceramic fuse up here, that's fine as well. I believe, looking at where all this stuff plugs in, it looks like it's the fuse for the backlight, or the fuse for the MagSafe there. It's probably the fuse for the MagSafe, it's fairly big. And as you can see, I got that in focus, I think I got that in focus. The big trace here, actually I'll just point with some pointy things. This big trace here, it's got some test points there, goes straight to this fuse and then gets divided up around everywhere around like that. Yes, so that's all cleaned up. The RAM is cleaned, only cleaned one stick just to see. Yeah, it should be fine. So on the left here we've got the... Sorry. Let's see if I can fix that up. Alright. So on the left here we've got the RAM before. I haven't cleaned this one, and the one on the right. And yeah, it looks like new. So I probably won't try this first up. I'll probably just throw in another 1 gig stick I've got sitting here that I know works, and then go from there. I'll throw one of the sticks in. It doesn't matter. It's all the same RAM. It's even the same brand and everything. So just cheap, cruddy RAM. And yeah, I couldn't get all this off here. I didn't really have anything good to clean it up with. But if you're interested, there's the money shot of the NVIDIA GPU. I think that's a 990M or something. It's a I can't remember. Anyway, I'll put that in the description. And there's the CPU. It's Core 2 Duo. I'll flip it around so you can read the part number. So there's the part number there. It's 2 gigahertz, 3 megabyte cache with a 1066 frontside bus. So I should be able to throw 1066 RAM in here theoretically. That should actually run DDR3, but this system's only running DDR2. So yeah, if I can get some really fast RAM to throw in there, see if it works. But yeah, so that's the board. Now, just the tedious task of throwing it back together. I'm going to put some Cooler Master thermal paste in there, stuff that came with my liquid cooler, just because I know it should work fine. Man, Apple went really crazy with that glue. Bad Apple. And yeah, here's the heatsink. One neat thing about Apple is, with their laptops at least, it's sort of engineered to... They engineer the crap out of it. Like, with like desktop motherboards and like, you know, Dell, Acer or whatever, all those sorts of boards. They'll go through a bunch of different revisions, or they'll ship a board and it'll have unused pads for things because they decided they didn't need them at the last minute. Whereas it's very rare, well, from what I've seen, it's very rare to find a Apple board, especially on their phones, that has any unused ports, and usually those unused pads and stuff on the board are for test equipment and stuff anyway, or bed of nails. But yeah, pretty neat. Hopefully this thing should work. As I said, it does power up, but yeah, we'll see. So I'm going to throw this all back together, give the case a quick little clean, and hopefully the next time you see me will be the computer put back together. See you in a bit. Alright, so I've got the main board back in the system. I've just been cleaning it up, and I've just gone through and used some of this double-sided tape. I've reapplied this these little foam pads that hold down the sort of more important connectors, like the temp sensor for the heatsink and the what is that? That's the backlight for the LCD. Hopefully this thing should turn on now. I just threw in one of the sticks of RAM that was already in it. Cleaned it up, looked okay. Let's see if it's going to work. I'm probably not going to put in a hard drive. I'm just going to throw in the battery right now, plug the keyboard in, and see if it works. Okie dokie, so I've got it plugged in. It's got the battery just sitting in there. Let's see if it works. Got the light on, hear the disk drive spinning up. I wonder if I can actually eject that disk. Got no display though, so I'll have to look into that. I'm going to try some things out and see if I can get it to boot. Alright, so it's a couple days later now and the system still isn't booting. What's happening is when I boot the system up, it's still not doing anything, but now it's started ramping the fans up. I've got no display on the DVI output, so there's no external monitor either, so that sort of almost rules out the LCD being a problem. And yeah, it's got a steady standby light, or sleep light or whatever it is. I don't think that the light on the front's meant to be running all the time. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to reflow both the processors, but before I do that I'm going to replace this. I'm not going to replace it, I'm going to reflash this chip here, which is a MX25L325D, which is a 32 megabit CMOS flash, and this is the BIOS for the system, I believe. So what I'm going to do is, it works with my universal programmer, so I'm going to desolder this, do probably 2 backups of it just to be safe, and then reflash another copy of it which I've found on the internet. You can't see what I'm looking at here, but apparently this is the BIOS ROM for this same motherboard, which is the 820-2279A. If this still doesn't work, I have found a replacement motherboard on eBay that I can get. It's got 2 connectors broken, so worst case scenario, it's going to cost me probably $20 to fix this machine, so well, hopefully. The charger hasn't arrived yet, so I can't really test any issues with charging on this board. So I'm trying to do like a shotgun approach to fixing it, because the battery's only got 2 bars left on it, so I don't want it to go flat and then I can't do anything till my charger arrives. So yeah, so that's what I'm going to do at the moment. I might film removing this chip or something like that, or programming it. Yeah, so fingers crossed. Okie dokie, so I've decided on not reflashing the BIOS just now, just in case. It seems like it's working because I'm able to, the optical drive does load. It won't eject, but it does load. There's no chime though, and it could be anything. It's probably a processor related problem. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to reflow all the RAM related stuff. So I'm going to redo the through hole pins here. Some of them look a bit cruddy, and I'm going to go through and reflow some of these small packages along here and stuff like that. And then I'm going to go through and reflow the GPU and the CPU. Maybe throw it together real quickly, see if it boots. If it doesn't boot, then I'll jump onto that BIOS just there and dump it and then reflash it and see if it does anything. And yeah, we'll go from there. So let's get to it. Okay, so I've got the board set up now. I've got a thermocouple here. I don't know how accurate that's going to be. So I've just got because I don't own a preheater, I've just got the hot air set to 150. I'm just going to warm the board up first to sort of prevent any damage. And then from there, I'm going to probably reflux it again, because the flux is probably going to evaporate. I wasn't really thinking. So I'm going to reflux it again and then go through and do a reflow on most of the components. Turn down the airspeed just to be safe. So the board temp's sitting at about 50 degrees at the moment. I don't know if I'll be able to get it up to full temp. And that's just sitting on the ground plane, so we sort of have a rough idea of how warm the board's getting. And yes, I am in my kitchen. Don't judge me. I've already cleaned the bench and everything, so I'm using a little stand here so I don't get any flux on the table. But when I'm done, I'm going to wash the bench with soap water and then go over the top with some isopropyl. That's the same thing I did to prep here, so yep, still recording, awesome. So we're still sitting around about 50 degrees, it's going to fluctuate and stuff. I don't know if that thermocouple's actually touching the board properly. Yeah, so the board's sitting at about 60 degrees now. So hotting up in there. It's getting quite warm in here. It's quite warm today. Meant to be a heat wave or something. And I'm just using a small square nozzle just to sort of straighten out the air a bit. I don't want to melt the RAM slots or anything. I shouldn't. I'm not that close to them, but yeah. So now I'm just going to ramp the temp up to 100. Let's do 200. So now it's set up to 200. The air pressure's at, I don't know, something. Can't read it. It's on a fairly low airspeed, so try and get this board warmed up. So I'm doing a sort of a partial board reflow just to see what happens. I still can't make up my mind whether or not I want to mess around with that with the CMOS or not. Not sure at all. Now the CMOS battery, or whatever Apple wants to call it, it's a little coin cell that's soldered on board, which is quite silly. I believe this board's quite similar to the MacBook Air, maybe? Not sure. But yeah, I found an identical board to this on eBay. It's got 2 broken connectors on it. And yeah, you know, not too sure if I'm going to buy it. I can get it for $20 with free shipping. And the 2 broken connectors are just the fan connector, for just to run the fan, not the temp sensor, and the Bluetooth module. So, yes. The actual pins for them are still on the board. It's just a plastic clip-on shroud around them that's broken off. And I don't know, I'll see. They're only like a 3-pin connector, so I could replace them with some JST connectors or something. I don't think the ones on the boards here, or the ones Apple used, are actually designed to be reused. They don't sort of cope with a proper reflow temp and stuff. One use only sort of a thing. But we'll see. Okay, I've just popped the temp up a bit. I think it's 270 or something. I don't know how hot I should have it, so let's go in and do the reflow. Okay, so I'm just finished running through reflow, and I'm just trying to slowly cool down the board. I've got the temp now set to about 100 degrees, and I'm just going to go through here and just sort of keep it warm for a little bit, prevent from warping, and also just to evaporate any leftover no clean flux, just in case. And as I said, I didn't remove the BIOS, so once this is cooled back down again, I'm going to go through preheat again and then reflow the CPU and GPU. Back in a little bit. Well, after all that, it looks like I'm going to need a new board anyway. I reflashed the BIOS on it and everything, and it still doesn't work, so I'm going to go get a new board. Alright then, so this will probably be multiple parts over the next few weeks, so hopefully I can get it working again. Until next time, see ya.